Synthaholics.
There's a new file.
There is a new file.
A new file for you. A new file for you. A new file for you.
No, get a new file. Welcome to Synthaholics. Thank you so much for downloading this episode. Today you have myself, Aaron O'Brien, and Dave Duncan. Dave, how you doing?
You may call me Book. The cat.
Book.
The Grudge.
The Grudge.
I didn't know I thought The Grudge was a movie and not a book.
It is. It's a creepy movie.
Is it both?
I know. I think it's always been a movie. I mean, maybe they've turned it into a book, but it's started off with a Japanese movie and they remade it for America. Anyways, Dave, we are at the opening of Season 3 of Discovery. We're going to do a non-spoiler little talk in the beginning here. We won't get into anything that happens. But how do you feel about this opening shot of Season 3?
God, we've had 10 weeks of really stellar writing and Star Trek Lower Decks, and it's just without getting into anything in detail, it's just kind of a punch to the gut going back to Discovery's writing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
just
how you felt about it?
Yeah, it was just kind of like, oh, this isn't as good as Lower Decks. The writing just isn't as sharp, and Sonequa Martin-Green's a wonderful actress. She can act. And in this episode, she shows her range. She bounces back and forth between her.
I think she carries this whole episode. I mean, her other guy, Book, who's with her, is good, but she carries this whole episode.
Well, yeah, but I mean, she also flips back and forth between varying emotions really fast. She's a fantastic actress, and her lines are just so bad. I was cringing most of the episode at just some of her lines. It just is it's what's wrong with your writing team? I'm just I don't know. My initial takeaway is just it's interesting. It's beautiful. Discovery's always been beautiful. Also, sans shots you've seen from Discovery showing the crew and the ship that's not Michael. I feel a ton of the previews for Star Trek Discovery have all taken place already in this one episode.
But big parts of it, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
so
there's some scenes that we haven't seen yet, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
Like I said, anything that involves the crew and the ship that was in previews, but almost everything else has taken place really in this episode, which is kind of fascinating that they've kept so much close to the chest, and they've not really shown anything about what the season's going to be like and what it's going to be about before now. So I think that's interesting. What are your initial takeaways?
Entertaining. I can't take that away from it. I think it was an entertaining show. It's beautifully shot. It's absolutely gorgeous. Locations they picked.
Lots of drone footage.
A lot of drone footage, but like we said, Sonequa Martin-Green, her acting, I mean, she carries this whole freaking episode. You see a full gambit of personality and from anger to joy to goofiness and sanity to serious stoicism, all the things. You see everything from her. She's fantastic.
I mean, one episode.
If I was her and I wanted to show off to my acting chops to any producer, movie, people going to make a movie or a TV show, I'd be just watch this episode. You'll get what I'm about.
My entire range is in this one episode.
It is pretty astounding. I mean, I can't. You got to give it to the woman. She is good.
I do. I mean, I've always praised her for her acting in the show.
There's some good acting, period, in the show. I mean, they really are. The story, it's kind of, I mean, not to give away too much, it's kind of a chase, kind of in her coming to terms with where she's at in her place and time. So, I don't know. I mean, the story was a little light. but it was kind of like we're just kind of getting grounded, getting our feet in the ground. This is where we are. But it didn't bother me, and honestly, I mean, there was a couple lines I thought were silly, but I kind of just like, I glossed over them, and we can get into the meat of some of that stuff later, but I thought it was a decent opening first episode. Didn't, break any, anything big, it was just kind of just like getting us grounded of where we are.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like season 2's first episode was probably the strongest, and I don't know where I put this one. I don't know if I put this one as second or third.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, honestly, if I'm being honest, I mean, even season 1, the first episode or two were pretty fantastic opening. Season 2, like you said, the first episode's pretty good. But this was really good too. It captures my attention. It really did. I mean, I'm not like super like, I'm not super into like the setting they put this place in so far into the future, but I'm still. It's kept my attention. So
yeah,
that's as much as I can ask for. So
I mean, it was easier to watch than Picard for sure. Like I wasn't bored. It was
Picard was disjointed and a little boring at points, and especially the first episode.
Yeah,
I mean, other than seeing Patrick Stewart back in action.
Yeah, and really, after seeing Patrick Stewart the first time, the next big highlight was Maureen DeSertis and Jonathan Frakes doing Riker and Troy. I mean,
which was like what 7 episodes into the season. So.
Yes, that was like the next highlight. It was just great seeing them, and then their chemistry working together again. It was fantastic. It was a really long wait for the next like really big thing. And
I don't know. I mean, there was other things in Picard I liked too. I don't want to get too far into Picard.
Sure,
I mean,
sure, but I'm just saying. 7-9 was nice, but I mean, like I don't know. I just really loved because 7-9 felt a lot different than she used to. But Riker and Troy, it was like coming home. You know what I mean?
Same thing.
It was just great. It was just great seeing them on the screen. That was like a huge moment in Picard for me.
Sure.
But mostly I just wanted to make the contrast whereas Picard was boring. This was not boring. This was definitely entertaining. It was fun. It's just there's just like some of her lines just bothered me, and some of the dismissiveness about the past bothered me, and this new character we meet at the end, some of his lines bothered me too. I'm just kind of like what? But yeah, I mean that's as much as I can say without getting into spoilers.
Well, okay. Well, let's get into spoilers, guys. If you haven't seen Star Trek Discovery yet, if you want to wait and watch the episode, I mean, this is a good place to pause, and you can come back later. Or if you don't care, or if you've already seen it, let's go ahead full force into Star Trek Discovery Season 3. So this is Season 3. Episode 1, and the episode is called That Hope Is You, Part 1, and it's aired October 15th, 2020. And we get the beginning where Michael Burnham is come through the little wormhole in space and time, and she crashes into, or not crashes, but kind of ricochets off of this guy named Book, or Cleveland Booker.
It's Cleveland Brown from the Family Guy show.
I don't know, Peter.
I don't know.
My name is Cleveland Brown.
Cleveland Brown.
My name is Cleveland Booker. Yeah, so Book is a kind of like not. We find out more about him, but he's like a smuggler, sort of like eco-terrorist is a wrong word. He's a guy who tries to preserve.
He's a conservationist.
A conservationist, but like
a smuggler, a black market conservationist, kind
of these gigantic, trance slugs. Right?
They almost
trance worms.
Yeah, but they
look
almost
like a slug. But
it's like they look like a slug mixed with like a lobster.
Yeah.
because they had like all these like facial parts, like a lobster, kind of.
So this is his mission in life.
Yeah, he
wants to do.
I was kind of hoping he'd be like saving Gore Commanders.
I mean, I'm like, I don't know. It was weird. It was like, wouldn't you, okay, like, I don't have a problem with the premise per se, but it was like a weird creature, and everyone's like, they're licking their chops when they see this thing. Like, oh, is it still alive? Looks tasty. Like, this is the first time we ever heard of a trance worm.
Yeah, that whole scene felt like it was out of Star Wars. It literally felt like something out of like The Force Awakens, like whenever they let that beast go or whatever, the Millennium Falcon.
Remember the giant like space whale thing that was in Next Gen?
Oh, the one. There's that video where Riker impregnates.
Right.
It like sits on the ship and it leeches the power.
Wouldn't it be cooler if book was sort of like Save the Whales, like from like whalers, but from these space whales,
or the
like
Gore
if he was sort of like a Greenpeace kind of thing.
Yeah, or the Gore Commander from Discovery Season 1. You know what I mean? The space whale that Harry Mudd traps himself inside of.
Yeah,
I mean that would be a tie to something we know. You know what I mean? Like if he's, because I mean they were kind of close to extinct then. If he's trying to, I mean, it just, they're introducing some new creature that I don't care about.
I don't care, and it's not like it doesn't break it for me, but it was sort of just like, that's your mission. That's your thing in life, is to bring these things to this wildlife sanctuary. All right, we're kind of getting off track because that doesn't get revealed to like the last like 15 minutes of the episode. But
yeah,
but so she bumps into his
so like his
ship. Yeah,
I just think it's funny. She bumps in the ship, and so they both crash land on the planet that they just happen to be near. It's like, to me, that's like, okay, so like I'm in a car and I hit a mosquito, and all of a sudden my car crashes.
I guess if the mosquito's going fast enough.
I guess, but also he sees the temporal anomaly open up, and he continues to fly toward it.
Yeah,
he doesn't alter course or anything. Granted, he is being shot at,
yeah.
But
he's being chased by like somebody that's trying to get one of these
the creatures,
trance slugs,
because apparently they're a delicacy and they have to be served fresh. So I don't know how you serve something that big fresh. Is it just like the biggest potluck you've ever seen?
I have no idea. So they crash, and she sends her angel suit into space after she gets a couple of her personal effects, a phaser, and
she sends it back to the wormhole so it can make the final beacon for Spock that we never saw Spock see. So
right, So she went and did that, and so now she's forever in this time. So
yeah, because they totally got rid of that MacGuffin, the Red Angel suit, which is super magical, right. And I'm really glad they got rid of it because it's got way too much technology and like basically a suit of armor.
Yeah. Oh, and we forgot to say in the very beginning, we had this great opening scene of this guy. I'm going to butcher his name. The character is Adiyat. Sorry, it's Aditya. So it's
Aditya
Salhill, and this guy is a Starfleet. He's not a Starfleet officer. He's a Starfleet liaison.
He's a descendant of a Starfleet officer, and
he basically is like, you see him waking up every day. It's really weird. Like the bed kind of like forms.
Everything's
and then
like holographic or whatever. Yeah,
it's just,
it forms and it goes away.
So, but he is like trying to keep the Federation thing going. So that's his job. So we get a brief glimpse of him in the very beginning of it, but we don't really know much about him. We're like, I don't know who this guy is.
He wakes up, he brushes his teeth, and he sits at his desk. And they show this a couple times, and it switches to Michael.
I'm being Starfleet.
Well, like when she's doing that, and then so back to her, she's doing all this stuff where she's like just saying her name, her serial number, and her rank, and I'm like, why are you doing this? You're not captured. You're not being interrogated. It was just really weird, like writing decision. Like I guess they're just trying to fill up time with her saying something, and then she has to tell herself
maybe
to
it was
walk.
trying to. Well, it seemed like she injured herself. She definitely seemed like she was hurt from that crash when she hit the planet, even though she had shields and stuff like that. And then, I don't know. The only reason I thought she was trying to say her name, serial number, is trying to remind who she is and what she's about. So that was my thought behind it. So
yeah, I don't know. To me, it just felt weird and cringy. Like a lot of her opening dialogue, it was just like, why?
Well, and then she's like first happy that she's alive, and then when she sends off the angel suit, she's like screaming, upset, obviously, because now she knows she's stuck here. She doesn't know where she is, obviously, at this point, so she's in the future. So
it's like the thing is, through the whole episode, she's like, she doesn't mention her mom once. And like half the reason she's doing this is so she can reunite with her mom in the future, and not a once does she try to reach out to her mom or anything. It's really weird.
Mom,
it's like they forgot.
Where are you, Mom?
It's like they forgot her mom was in the last season.
Yeah, I know, right? So, but then she does finally, because she sees sees Bookship that's kind of smoking off in the distance, and she starts walking towards that. So she runs into Bookship. Book and her have this like
scuffle.
Yeah, they get a little fight, and she realizes, he realizes that she doesn't know what the fuck's going on, period, with anything, and she realizes that he's looking for some kind of things to trade, because he's kind of like we said, he's like a kind of a Greenpeace kind of guy, but yet he's still like
that's his side gig. Sort of. That's his side gig. Yeah. I mean, it's probably his main gig, but in order to fund his main gig, he's just a courier. They just like have him find things to sell on this like HoloNet market, and then they just give him a little bit more to do another job. It's like it's a weird payment method. The payment is fuel to get to your next job.
Yeah, so
which is a really strange way to make money.
He can't. Something happened with dilithium where it does not hold its form. They used to have, like, obviously, dilithium matrix that would keep the dilithium crystals kind of recrystallizing and working still, but something about that doesn't work. He briefly says something about the burn.
He says
which we don't know what that means.
He says the burn, it took a hard left turn. He said most dilithium just exploded. So I guess you can't have large quantities of dilithium in the future. This doesn't negate necessarily the omega particle, because we don't have any word on what the omega particle would do other than limit warp. If you don't have dilithium, that limits warp. They also mentioned the Gorn destroyed 2 light years of subspace. That could also be omega particle related. So you just can't fly in those 2 things. But whatever that did, maybe the omega particles disrupted dilithium somehow and destroyed almost all the dilithium in the world, in the solar system. I mean, not solar system, the freaking galaxy. I don't know. It's
right.
It's very vague, and it seems like that's the goal for them to find out what the burn was and what happened. Although it doesn't make a lot of sense. It just seems like they should just rebuild the Federation. Like, what's the point of finding out? It's not going to change anything unless they're going to start doing time travel stuff again. But Book also casually mentions that time travel has been outlawed because this is the new Kittimer Accord. We can't have cloaking devices. Now we can't have time travel. So it's just they just dismiss really cool elements of Star Trek in a line. It's really annoying.
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, like, obviously, Book has a some type of cloaking device because he can hide a ship.
Sure, I'm not saying cloaking devices aren't, but I mean, like, the reason the Federation can never use it, and the prime timeline, not the prime time, but I mean like in Kirk's era, whatever was because of the Khitomer Accord. So now there's a new type. I'm just saying this is the new Khitomer Accord. Time travel is illegal.
Right. Anyway, so there's that, and then also like he brings up the temporal, like you said, temporal wars, and so like you can't do that. That's illegal.
Yeah.
But he finds that she has some 23rd century antiques that he could maybe trade in. So there's like this little trading like area that they can go on this planet. So they go and they hoof it over there, and this is where he double crosses her at some point and tries to take her stuff, and she gets in trouble with some of the local authorities, and then he gets in trouble with the guy that was trying to chase him in the very beginning. So that guy catches up with him with Book, and so then Michael Burnham and Book re-team up after kind of hating each other and double crossing each other. So, well, Book double crossed Burnham. So, and they have this huge thing where they but they beam different areas throughout the planet. And there's like a big chase.
They have a small like remote teleporter thing that takes 30 seconds to recharge.
Yeah. Pretty cool. It was a cool sequence of being chased, and these like Andorian, a Moran alien was in there, humans and Orions and Andorians are working together. So it was unusual.
Yeah. It was weird because we were thinking like this is like some weird post-apocalyptic thing. I remember when we were first saw the preview for it, like months and months ago. We were thinking of some kind of post-apocalyptic thing where like small little things grouped together. But it just seems like I think this is just a small little thing, and I don't even know if we're going to see this ever again, unless they go back to the trading post and seeing all the Morn aliens. It just seems like it was kind of like a one-off thing.
Yeah. And then we get into this whole thing where they get captured by these the local authorities. Finally, they get the jump on them and they surround them, and they want Book to give up his spaceship, and he gives them the code to his spaceship, and they open up one of the cargo holds which has the big slug transworm, and Book tells Michael to close her eyes, and this thing jumps out and puts them all the guards in a trance. And
but luckily,
would they know this?
One of the Morns escapes, so he is safe.
Yes, he does. Get to drink for another day. But then after some are eaten by the giant slug, but then the other beam out to escape, flee the thing. But then it does basically chomp down on Michael Burnham, and then Book has it vomit her out. So interesting.
Yeah, he's got this weird like prayer thing he does when his forehead glows, and he also made a plant.
Sort of like some weird technology thing. We see it previously where he calls forth some kind of plant out of this ocean, and it has the plant has some healing properties that he can use to help Michael, which, it's cool, but it's like, unless Book's been to this planet before, like, how would he know that this thing could heal? It's like a weird, plant out of nowhere, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think he has, because, he deals with the trading post a lot,
right? And this is where Michael finds out that Book is like trying to save these trance slugs, worms, and takes him to this planet that's supposed to be their sanctuary, and then he says,
"We got her just in time for mating season. She's going to be a big mother."
So then Michael decides or says that she wants to find the rest of her crew from the Discovery, and so he takes her to this old beat up like space station, which is what used to be Federation, and this is where we meet the guy we met before, the who's the liaison.
Yes.
And they find out that there's only 2 Federation ships that are out there that he has
only
any contact with.
Because he only can see things in a 600 light year radius. That's as far as it can go. Long range sensors have gone away decades ago. Don't understand why, or maybe just it's so beat up it can't do long range sensors. They weren't very specific as to if that's part of the burn where long range sensors don't exist or don't work anymore, or if it's just the ship, the place is so beat up that's as far as you can see. They were not specific as to which that was.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it didn't. I mean, that's how it came off to me. He wasn't. I mean, do you think it's because of the burn or it's just the ship's beat up?
I don't know. I don't understand what the burn is. I mean, other than what happened with the dilithium. I don't really understand what the burn actually is supposed. Like, what is the effects of the burn? Like, I just don't understand what it is. Mm-hmm. They haven't really explained it. So, obviously, they can still go into warp. So that would mean that the omega particle is not one of those things. Because if the omega particle destroys subspace completely. So,
well, maybe they only destroyed part of subspace, because like I said, they said they destroyed a couple light years in Gorn territory.
Yeah,
Gorn did it, so maybe it's a limited thing. Maybe it's not as bad. I don't know. I think it could still maybe tie into a mega particle, but it could be its own thing completely. But it is just interesting that they did mention there is Gorn space with no subspace in it anymore.
Yeah, I guess it could be a mega particle. So, what else? And then he wants to hoist the flag, of the Federation, which has got like 4 stars,
6 stars on it.
6 stars, yeah. And then I don't know. It was a silly moment. I thought it wasn't looking at
It was an awful moment because he's like I've done this for 40 years. I'm not commissioned. I owe nothing to Starfleet. My dad was Starfleet. My grandfather was Starfleet. No one has come to officially make me Starfleet. Oh, I can see ships, but I've never bothered calling any of them here to raise this flag for me or to swear me into Starfleet or anything.
Yeah.
Did he never make his
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense. Like his book says this place is a courier waypoint.
Okay,
but the guy wants to be Federation. So, does the Federation not know it exists? Does he never reached out? I just have so many questions. Like, how have you done this for 40 years, but you haven't met anyone from the Federation? Like, wouldn't you always try to call Federation ships if you have them?
Yeah.
If you have them on sensors, like I'm just so. The writing is so bad. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that part kind of fell off for me a little bit. I didn't really why do we need to sit there and stare at this flag? I mean, it doesn't mean anything to Michael other than just the idea of the Federation that she's heavily invested in.
Yeah. So. And he's like, we're diminished, but our resolve is strong, or whatever. Resolve hasn't changed, or whatever it is he says, and then the episode's over.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. I don't know. So it was an enjoyable episode for me, but there's a lot of questions, but that's how Discovery always does. It's like it starts off, has some pretty great opening sequences and fun things to watch, but then you're got 100 questions.
And then they never answer any of them. So I'm just like, why even ask the questions if you're never going to answer any of them? Star Trek Discovery. I almost kind of don't. I know. Did you see the preview thing? I had to look it up on YouTube for the rest of the season, preview thing. Did you see that?
Yeah. I think I did. Yeah, at the end of the episode.
Yeah, for me it didn't play. I had to go up on YouTube. I mean, because normally it does, but I pulled it up on YouTube and watched it there, and it seems like the main goal is they're trying to find out what the burn is, and it looks like they did go to Earth because oh look, we're home, but it seems like if I guess warp isn't broken, but the lithium is scarce, so whether it's omega particle or not, Discovery's the answer to this problem. they have to replicate the spore drive. It just seems like the season should be about rebuilding the Federation and not like looking for what caused the burn. I don't know. It just I feel like the answer is going to be underwhelming. It's like, what's the point of looking for the answer unless they're trying to undo it? And the only way to undo it would be using time travel. But I almost think they should just make this a hard reset and just like, just continue it from here. Because I know before we speculated that, they might just be the future for one season and they'll go back in time to fix the problem and to make the future a better future. But I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to stay here. I mean, with Strange New Worlds coming out, there's no reason for Discovery to go back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll just couch this in the future and just leave it there. I mean, how far are they in the future? It's in year 3188.
3188. And
so,
from what we know...
930 years in the future, yeah.
And from what we know, Crewman Daniels was from 3064.
Okay.
So he's kind of... So when he said the burn happened 120 years ago, so it's like it must have happened just right after Crewman Daniels. I know he died on the Enterprise sickbay, but
yeah, maybe there's something about the temporal war that gets kind of like brought out here too.
It's just so weird that it's so relatively close to the Crewman Daniels time that all this stuff would happen there, and as soon as they stop doing time travel, this happens. So I mean, like, if this gets back into the temporal Cold War, I would be so down for them.
Yeah, because you always wanted to see that in Enterprise.
Yeah, so if they go big on the temporal Cold War stuff, I would be really down for that. If that's what like the burn entails, if because it's relatively close to that, Crewman Daniels and the temporal Cold War stuff. So if that's where they're going, I would kind of love that.
Yeah.
But if the burn has nothing to do with that, and they're not going to delve back in the time travel, I don't know if I'm going to care about the burn.
Now, wouldn't it be interesting if they brought the temporal time war into focus in this series, and they brought back Scott Bakula as Archer?
That would be great, because the original idea was that Archer was the man from the future.
Right.
So if they bring that back and they bring that full circle, and Enterprise is the one Star Trek they have been, really digging into as far as can.
Yeah, they just keep on mining that. They keep mining that for.
So I mean, like, if they're going to go hard on that, that would be absolutely amazing, and I would love that.
A lot of fan chatter on Reddit about the Omega particle, though. So,
which is why I don't think. I mean, the burn, because there's still warp capable stuff. I'm not sure if it's 100%, but they never really. I mean, they said it would eliminate warp travel, but I mean, if the Omega particle being triggered by the Gorn wipes out a couple light years of space, that's that's bad. But maybe the Omega particle also just detonated a lot of the dilithium, which also cuts that out. Either way, Discovery's the option. If subspace.
Either way, with Discovery, we're back to crystals.
Yeah.
Fucking crystals again.
Damn crystals. But the thing is, the Discovery's the answer. If they just gotta use Stamets' technology, make a bunch of planets or moons. Yeah, make hybrid humans using his DNA or whatever. Plant some moons full of mushrooms, get all the people high on them, store the spores, and use those for travel. I mean, that it's just Star Trek's turning into Dune. Drugs is the way to the future. This is the way that we do space travel. Instead of the spice, it's the shrooms. The shrooms must flow.
You don't have to discover space. You don't have to leave your living room. You just get really high on your sofa.
Yeah, you start spinning all around, just like the spore drive does. But if the Omega particle did wipe out subspace, that is Discovery's the answer. If dilithium is so scarce that it makes space travel hard, the spore drive is still the answer either way. So, I mean, it'll be nice. I mean, they do show the Discovery getting attacked at some point, and I'm like, how is a 900-year-old ship going to deal with new technology? Because another thing I was speculating, if technology ceased advancing, then, Discovery could hold its own, when technology is in gun technology and phaser technology is just, gone ahead. But it doesn't seem like technology is slowed down at all. It just warp is limited in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just very.
The tech was pretty cool that they depicted.
Yeah, I mean, like the bed. I don't know if it's holographic.
The bed, the control. I mean, the book's ship controls. So
how it kind of raises up. It's neat. I mean, the tech is cool and fine, but we were speculating it was going to be like post-apocalyptic future with relatively low tech going forward, and doesn't seem to be the case. So Discovery's going to need to either be majorly upgraded when they get back to Federation or something. It'd be kind of cool if they updated the look of the ship as well. Put year 3000 nacelles on it or whatever.
Yeah. Year 3000. Yeah, I don't know. So it's cool stuff.
There's so many places the show could go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I just I don't know. I mean, the episode's perfectly fine just by itself. I mean, there's some quirkiness here. I mean, when she gets hit, they hit her with some weird drug thing that kind of affects her to give her to be more truthful. Mm-hmm. And she has like these weird like external dialogue, which is kind of weird. But I mean, it's funny in a weird way, but also like awkward.
It was really awkward. That's why I said I was cringing a lot of the episode. Her range in acting is great, but just the lines they gave her were just kind of like, I don't. She's becoming really self-aware that she's like clingy and like has like this like savior complex thing she was talking about, like do I have issues, because she brings it up to book 2 later, and they're fighting in a corridor. Right. So it's just like, I mean, it's great. She's becoming self-aware at her problems. Hopefully, she'll address them. But
yeah. Oh, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it goes from here. I mean, obviously, she's going to try to track down Discovery. She's going to work out of this liaison busted up base.
I guess. Actually, I don't even know if she is, because she's like, oh, do you want to be my acting communications officer and keep looking for my ship? And I'm thinking to myself, oh, so she's going to just keep doing animal conservation and just make this poor little guy.
Just like deputize everyone she meets.
She's just make this poor little guy just look for her ship while she's off like doing animal conservation.
I know, right?
I mean, that's what it seems like, because she's like, I'm not going to look for my ship anymore. She's also like,
by the end of the season, at some point they're going to have to fight some bad guys, and like Book's going to show up with the trance slugs to like save the day. He's going to be riding them or something like that. It's going to be, that's going to happen
because it's a Star Trek Discovery. Yes, they meet the Kelpians early on in season 2, and then all of a sudden they know how to fly ship. No, the slugs. Yeah. The slugs will invent their own ships. They'll invent their own ships that don't need dilithium.
Right.
So
it could happen.
So, do you think Control's going to come back to be the big bad guy?
God, I hope not. I'm so sick of Control. I was so sick of that story. Honestly,
I hope not either. But I feel like Discovery's got to have a big bad. Discovery's always done like the big bad. So we've got Lorca. Lorca was the big bad of season 1. Then we've got Control being the big bad of season 2. And like there's no like established big bad unless like some big bad triggered the burn, or if the temporal Cold War guy is going to be the bad guy. There's no hint to it that it could go this way. I would love for it to go this way, but nothing in the trailer hints that it could or would go this way.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, also, the fact that the tentacle monster we saw in Picard, the robot apocalypse thing, apparently that's never going to happen or come back, because it's not even doesn't even seem to be a footnote in history where all life was almost wiped out by an advanced robot creature.
Yeah, right.
So it's just like, that's just disappointing that Picard plotline, which was one of the most interesting plot lines they were kind of toying with toward the end of the season is just a non sequitur, and it's probably not even going to come up in season 2 of Picard because it's not even it doesn't even seem to be a future footnote at all. So that's a little bit disappointing that Picard that all that stuff is
Picard.
Just...
What Picard saw, or what was depicted in Picard with that tentacle monster that came through the mechanical thing, it doesn't really say it's from the future, right? It just says it's a different part of the galaxy. It could be. I don't remember him saying it technically that it was in a different part of time. It might be calling it from some place in a different part of the galaxy.
It's from a different dimension, but it's existed for aeons, they said. But the fact that it never comes back again, because it seemed...
well, that's the stupid part. Like, they can't figure out where they are.
That's what I was really annoyed with. And it seems like it's going to be forgotten in this, in Picard, and since it's not a major footnote. Because, I mean, you'd think a robot race, nearly wiping out all of humanity would. But, I mean, the reason I think maybe Control can still be the bad guy is because I still think Control has a tie to that tentacle monster from Picard.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
I mean, we saw it in season 2 of Discovery. So I mean, like, why wouldn't you think?
Unless they're going to go a completely different route, which I mean, it's a blank slate, and I just don't know where they're going to go. There's so many places they could go, with it, and I guess that's interesting that they could go so many ways, but
right.
I just have very little trust in their writing staff. So I get my fingers crossed that it gets better, and hopefully when we see the rest of the crew, that'll help it get better too. Because, like you said at the top, like Burnham, Sonequa Martin-Green, she carried this episode like on her back, pretty much by herself.
Yeah, I mean the guy who plays Book, Cleveland Brown.
And I'm
hey Peter. Hey Peter. No, what's his name? David Ajala. He's good too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. It's just that she really just.
He kind of reminds me of Idris Elba, but I don't know if it's just because of his accent or not.
Yeah, this dark black man.
Just I mean, just like if I squint, it seems like. But I mean, he's definitely a lot younger than Idris Elba.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, no, he doesn't look. He actually doesn't really look like him. He's just dark like him. But
he sounds like him though.
I don't think he's got his tenor of his voice. Idris Elba has like such a dark voice. Deep voice. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's a good actor, obviously. But Sonequa just hit it out of the park in this episode. I mean, and it's as always with Discovery, it's just a beautiful looking show, just really well done. The alien makeup is great. The ships look cool. The debris fields that they fly through a couple times look great.
Yeah, the show looks fantastic. I mean, I'm curious to see where it's going to go. Man, an Archer cameo would be great. A Picard cameo.
That would be cool.
That would
be cool.
We have seen they're going to like the Trill things. It'd be nice if we ran into like Dax again or something. Is Dax still kicking? That could be a nice fill in the gap for some of the stuff happening. Maybe the temporal Cold War isn't over. I mean, who knows? I mean, like, they said it's outlawed and over, but I mean, if they're still pulling the strings from far away, who knows? And maybe this future where warp is destroyed is one of the bad factions of the temporal Cold War winning, or where warp is scarce. I mean, who knows? I mean, like, there's so many plot lines they could pull on.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting. I mean, it honestly is. I mean, the episode was interesting. It was fun. The writing was, like I said, is bothersome to me, but the direction seems pretty good so far, and there's tons of room for potential. But same thing with Picard season 1, episode 1. It had so much potential, and it could have gone so many different ways.
Yeah,
and it didn't go any of the good ways. So it's just like, I mean, they definitely know how to write their first episodes to the way that, the possibilities are potentially endless and interesting, but then they inevitably go down this weird hole where it's just like, wow, that wasn't nearly as interesting as it seemed. So
I don't know. I do feel that I do feel like the first episode or two of Picard was not that exciting. It was.
Oh, this was
had
definitely
some
more
interesting
exciting
points to it that kept you kind of interested, but it did what this was far better, like visually arresting and well acted and stuff like that. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this was way better than the Picard season 1, but I just mean Picard's first episode laid tons of groundwork for potential storylines. Like there was like seasons worth of storyline they could have done with the little eggs they laid in the first episode of Picard in season 1, and they just stomped on all the eggs and then went in a completely different way.
Yeah, they had all this potential that they could have gone forward with, and they didn't go for. They didn't find the ways they could have gone with it. But yeah. I don't know. I'm still relatively hopeful.
Yeah,
that's still going to be good. So, I mean, I don't. It there was a little wonkiness in some of the dialogue, but that I can skate past that for now. I mean, I think it's more.
It's not right now. Right now, the writing's not make or break the show.
Yeah.
Right now, it's still fine enough. You know what I mean? It just felt wonky. Like it irked me more than it it was like just groundbreakingly bad. You know what I mean? Like it just felt weird.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's mostly my takeaway. It's not just weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Anything further you want to talk about for this? I mean, it's kind of a straightforward episode. There's not a lot to get into until we find out what the burn is. Yeah. Then we can start really get into it. I hope they kind of like tell you what exactly happened with the burn in the next couple, like episode or two. I hope they don't stretch this out forever.
I think that's going to be the main crux of the season, and that's why I'm kind of scared and kind of don't care if the burn doesn't deal with a temporal Cold War. Because I feel like if it doesn't deal with a temporal Cold War, I'm just going to be disappointed in what it is. And what does it even matter to find out what the burn is? Like, what does that solve?
I don't know.
But if it's linked to the temporal Cold War, and the temporal Cold War is kind of still happening and people don't know, then that's important. But just learning,
that would be cool.
But learning what it is, and it's past and it's done with it doesn't give us anything. It feels like, let's just rebuild the Federation and see what comes of it. Does Control come back as our new big bad? They didn't really establish anything to be a new big bad. It's just everything is lawless because the Federation is mostly collapsed.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I hope. I don't know. It'd be interesting too. Like, what if the temporal Cold War? This was like an after effect. The time frame that she jumps into, and this is some kind of weird pocket time that she fell into with Discovery, and it's not like with the real future. It's just like an offshoot of future.
That's completely possible too. Like it's. I mean, with time travel, anything is possible, and they could try to fix it. I mean, it was one of the things we talked about at the end of last season. Are they going to try and fix a future that's post-apocalyptic or wrong or something, and try to like bring it back to how it used to be? So I mean, it's totally possible, and I'd be down for that too. I mean, they didn't really give us much in this episode. It was mostly just a big chase, and then and no real hint to where the story's going to go other than they're trying to hunt down the burn, and I just don't understand why that's important.
Yeah,
because it's over 120 years ago.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It's crazy.
I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think finding out what the burn is important if it doesn't tie into a current problem?
It has to tie into the current problem. I don't understand why it wouldn't. I mean, it has to mean something that, not just that to me, that the Federation collapse is not a big thing. It's like every big nation state sooner or later collapses. The Roman Empire, and anything you want to like point your finger at. The Soviet Union. I mean, there's tons of examples of giant countries that fell apart, or even coalitions that fell apart. So that's not a big deal to me. What's really weird is like why dilithium doesn't work, and or work as well, and so there has to be a reason. I would. The omega particle could be interesting, a little bit too on the nosy, if you ask me. What I'd like to see is, I think the Temporal Cold War or Temple War would be really freaking cool.
I do too, because they never resolved it in Enterprise. We're now past where crewman Daniels is from, and they did say it's outlawed, but I mean, he's just a peon. I mean,
and they dropped the name Temporal War right there in the beginning episode. So
yeah, they did. So I mean, like, if that's like the big plot thread, that would be fantastic. I would love for them to get back in it, and that would be really exciting to me.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, for sure. Maybe they'll bring back Daniels.
Man, he'd be old now.
Yeah, I looked him up. He's 50 now.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, he could still do it. I don't know what he looks like now, but
but I mean, like Scott Bakula's definitely looking older now, though.
Yeah, he definitely is.
What I mean, that would be fine having him in the future calling the shots. But that would be that'd be great if they followed through in that old plot line. This season could just be absolutely amazing, and I'm so excited if that's where they're gonna go. I just got really excited all of a sudden. Before I was
it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome if we could get into the Temporal War. I'd love to see that.
God, that'd be
so fun.
And then seeing it from like the perspective of the future instead of the perspective of the people in the past who can't really control anything, And if they get a hold of the tech, the temporal tech, they could just plop, Discovery back where it belongs in the past. I don't know. It's an interesting. It's very interesting, and it could be amazing.
Yeah, it would be great. It'd be great to see for sure. All right, well, let's wrap up this episode, and we'll just have to see next week. Hopefully, we get some more information on the burn or something. I hope it's Temporal War.
I don't think we're gonna get much information next week. I think next week. We'll
get the Discovery crew. We'll skip.
I think we'll get the Discovery crew right at the end. My prediction is we're gonna get them right at the end. The next episode is gonna be her spending a year or two with Book and just random things they did over the years, because they, a lot of the promos show her with her long hair and braids, so her hair's short now. So they're gonna like do the, where she just keeps looking for her ship. And that's going to be, I think, a big part of the season. That'd be a big part of the second episode. Then maybe they show up at the end of the second one, and then the third one, she'll tell them about the burn, and then they'll be like, "Oh, what's the burn?" And then they'll have to go and try to figure it out. I mean, I hope we get more information on the burn next time. I just don't think so, since in the preview we saw them talking with Tilly and the people on the ship about the burn and how that's what they're trying to go do. You know what I mean? Right. So I don't think we're going to get. I don't think we're going to learn much about the burn. Before episode 5 or 6, honestly.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Guys, if you have different ideas, if you have different theories, I mean, if you've seen Star Trek Discovery Season 3 and the opening, what do you think the burn is? What do you think is going to happen? And are they going to get the Federation, get the band back together? Are they going to just abandon this timeline at the end of the season, saying, this was a fuck up, and just get rid of all this,
They could do anything.
That's a possibility.
I mean, it's literally open wide.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. So you can hit us up on our email. You can email us at tintaholic@yahoo.com. You can hit us up on our Facebook group, Facebook.com/groups/Tintaholics. And you can tweet us at Tintaholics Duo. We would love to hear any thoughts or interjections that you might have on any of this. Exciting, very, very beautiful show, well acted. interesting to see where it's going to go. I mean, it's so far in the future, especially with Star Trek. It's like hard to imagine tech that far ahead. You know?
Yeah, I wonder if we're seeing the crewman Daniel's future outfits. Although I guess they are 100-something years out of style, but...
Why are you wearing that old, worn-out Crewman Daniels shoe? Crewman. Whatever he is.
Well, in the show, on Enterprise, he was a crewman. I don't know what his actual rank was.
Right.
For the temporal. Apparently, he's, high-ish.
Yeah.
Maybe he was a peon. That'd be kind of funny if he was just like a nobody, just like going back and like warning Archer about stuff.
He's the one who started the temporal war.
Yeah.
Look, guys, it was me. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
I was going back in time. I was fucking things up, and then I started a whole war. Anyway, so yeah, let us know what you think. How would you like the first episode? We'd love to hear your thoughts and anything else, theories you might have. I mean, this whole thing is wide open. It's a whole universe that we've never been able to explore in Star Trek, so this is kind of cool. And then next week we'll just see where it goes from there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Looking forward to it. There's endless possibilities for this season, so can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, me too. All right, guys. Well, until next week, all stay safe and live long and prosper, one and all.
Well, McCoy, my boy, come mix me a drink. Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sink, and we'll cry till we laugh, and we'll both shit our pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
Get them shrooms in your face. Gotta eat them shrooms, snort them, eat them, drink them.
Drink the shrooms.
Oh, I had hot and sour soup tonight for dinner.
Hot and sour soup. What's that like?
It's nice. It's a first time I had it was like a Chinese restaurant. It kind of came with a General Tso's I got, but Keely and I both had it. We made it, and we made it at home tonight. It wasn't as hot as it was in the restaurant, but it's nice. It's got tofu and egg and mushrooms in it, and it's really nice, pleasant soup. Like it was really mild the one we had, but I think we're gonna try and put some more chili because I think the chili pepper is what made it hot before. So we try some more chili pepper, but it's a really nice soup. Really like it a lot.
Nice.
And
cool.
it's like one of the few places I like mushrooms. I'm not a huge mushroom fan, but if they're like, if you cut them thin enough, they just kind of like dissolve in the soup. So it's just kind of like it's good. I like it a lot.